So before I had came into pharmacy school, I had a couple leadership positions at the previous jobs that I was at. I've never worked in a pharmacy before until I got to school, but I was in leadership positions in other healthcare settings. So that kind of really shaped my perspective on where you can make a difference.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, PharmAddy. Would like to invite Dr. Cassandra Hudgins. So a warm welcome to you and please tell us about yourself. Uh,
Thank you. I'm excited. I just graduated pharmacy school over in Knoxville. I'm from Middle Tennessee, so I'm born and raised in Tennessee. I grew up in a very small town and kind of traveled and lived in different states where I ultimately ended up in Knoxville at pharmacy school. We had an accelerated program, and I decided to do the accelerated program for the pharmacy and for the MBA. And I just graduated this past April and took all my licensing tests. So I'm here today. I'm very excited to be here today and talk with you.
it's so amazing. Uh, so you have also appeared for your licensing exams as well. So this is going to be a good experience for our viewers. Whatever the experience you are going to share, about your licensing exams, what needs to be remembered, what types of questions that can be asked during the examinations, and I'll also be asking about your personal journey, your professional journey, what made you today, uh, at this level, and it's really going to be exciting. So we should start about your journey, like what are the courses that you had done and what motivated you to do PharmD and MBA together. It's kind of very challenging to do both of this degree, pursuing this two degrees at a time. So I want you to elaborate on this.
Yes, I'll start from the beginning because I kind of just stayed in school for 10, almost 11 years consecutively. So I graduated high school. I was not the best in high school. I did not graduate high in my class or anything, but I went straight into college and I started out with a general associate's degree, just getting my prereqs such as like English and math and things like that, and then graduated with an associate's in general education, and then got another associate's degree in pre-med. So I graduated from Columbia State in Middle Tennessee with my associate's in pre-med. And as I was finishing that degree, I was actually starting on my bachelor's of science in with a concentration in physician's assistant. So I was finishing that associate's degree. I started it my last class in February, and then also started my bachelor's degree in February. So I'd graduated with the associate's degree in May, and then my bachelor's degree, I graduated the next year. I had had a lot of prereq hours, so there was a lot that actually applied to my bachelor's in physician's assistant. And then so pharmacy was not my first um, path that I wanted for myself. And so whenever I was told, whenever I entered the bachelor's degree, I was told that there was no looking back, that there was that physician assistant, like it was the end all be all. Whether you get it or not, it's not guaranteed. But when you start this degree, like you can't apply it to anything else. So I was essentially all in. I was there for it. I applied across the country to PA schools. I was working full time while doing all three of those degrees. So I would get up around 4 o'clock in the morning. I would get ready for work. I would go to work all day and then get off around 4:30. And then I would drive to class. I would do night classes and get off around 10:30, 11. go home and study for about an hour and then go to sleep and wake back up and do it again. So I was all in with this degree. And it was in 2023, I think I had applied again. I actually applied to the same school I graduated pharmacy school for, but I had been denied. And so it was devastating for me because I loved South College. It was where I wanted to be. I love their mission. Um, so I was absolutely devastated that I got denied my dream. And then the pharmacy program reached out to me and asked if I would come check out the program. And I was like, no, I'm devastated right now. I can't even like eat because I'm so upset that my dream had been completely denied to me. So then I um, ended up actually, it was a couple months after they had contacted me again. And I was like, no, I still don't want to check it out. And then I was at work one day before I actually started, and I was like, maybe I should make a pros and cons list of what I want out of my career. So I sat down. I remember I walked into where I was working at and I sat down at the chairs where you can eat for lunch. And I wrote down what I wanted out of my career, not what I think I want everyone else to have out of my career. And then I wrote a pros and cons list between waiting another year to apply to PA school again or checking out the program. It can't hurt to check it out. So I went and checked out the program and I fell in love with it. I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it, but I fell in love with the program and fell in love with Knoxville. It was my first time there. And I actually accepted the seat through, I think it was 3 weeks before our start date in June. So I had 3 weeks to end my job and move all the way to Knoxville and be in that seat on the first orientation day. And then throughout my first year, I actually obtained my bachelor's in pre-pharmacy. And then during my first year, I was also enrolled in the MBA program. So that was also an accelerated portion of the programs there. So I actually got 3 degrees in 3 years throughout the school with South through the pharmacy program. So now I'm here. I'm graduated just a couple months ago, and the licensing exam, you had asked about that as well. So we have to take a law exam for the state of Tennessee. We don't get the universal MPJE, so we had like the Tennessee law specific one, and then also the NAPLEX one for our licensing. The law one I would say was a lot of people say it's harder than the NAPLEX, but I would disagree. I think the law was a lot easier than coming out of that NAPLEX exam. I felt a lot better coming out of law than I did NAPLEX. But the questions that they can ask is anything and everything that you're not prepared for. I feel like everything I studied for that exam, it was off the wall of what they asked. And I was like, that's got to be in the back of the book that I didn't read. I don't know where this information's coming from. It's just, I felt like I never went to pharmacy school after that exam. It was crazy.
That's really great. I really liked it because like when I was a student, so I was not a university ranker. I was also an average student, but I used to find a lot of struggling learning every each and every concept. But I try to understand it and try to implement it. But yes, that's really nice. And the thing which I like a lot about the when you talked about what do you want in your life, you started writing it, and that's the way that eventually it helped you to clarity in your life, like what do you want to do in your life. So sometimes at the same age, at the same point of life, we usually have a scattered focus, and we might get difficulties in ourselves, like what do we want in our life. So that's how you got clarity in your life that you want to do the pharmacy, and you eventually started doing it, and that's like wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
you have done your MBA, you have done 4 degrees at a time, and it was like okay, you that made a lot of challenges, struggles that you had done in your journey while pursuing it. So I would like to ask you with this next question. Okay. So, what are the five things that you want yourself? If you would like to suggest any student, or if you want yourself to, like 5 years back, or when you were doing your pharmacy studies, so what are the five things that you would like to suggest to yourself that you have to do it, and the mistakes that you should not do?
Oh Lord. I would say I want to start with the mistakes first because I feel like I like over here for our program, you don't have to have a bachelor's to do the program. So for instance, like for PA, you have to have a bachelor's of some sort, like a bachelor's of science was my path. And then you can go into the master level of PA. So here in this program, you don't have to have that. You can just have an associate's and come in. I had a couple classmates that came right out of high school because they did some prereqs in high school and they were able to come straight into a doctorate program and graduate at 21, 22 years old with their doctorate degree and be on their way. And I'm hitting my next decade. I'm almost 30 and I've been in school for 10 years. But I would say the mistake in that is not not asking for more help from forget what they call them, the advisors, I guess. I would seek out help. I would tell them what I wanted to do, and it was almost like I was hitting a brick wall every time. And I just never sought out help outside of that. I was kind of like, okay, well that's what you're telling me, but I'm gonna keep going type of thing. I will say the best part of it is that if I would have taken that route, I probably would not be here at all. I feel like if I the mistakes that I made, I feel like would have helped me money wise because it is very expensive to go to school. But I will say I'm grateful that I didn't because I feel like if I would have been 21, 22 in this profession, I don't think I would have been in it at this time and age. So I'm actually really grateful for that. But I'm very proud of the ones that have done it and they know that this is what they want to do and they've put their all into it. I just think that I didn't have to go through 10 years to find that profession that I wanted to do.
There is a quote that if you catch the wrong train, then it is going to bring us to the wrong destination. So it's better to, if we have already into the wrong train, so it's better to get to the nearby station so that we cannot go far in a wrong route. So that's how you explained it well about PA, that we have to do a bachelor's, pre-bachelor's, and all, and then the master's degree, and it will take a lot of time, like it will take a lot of 10 years, I guess, that you said so that's what that's a good decision that you had done. So I would like to move to the next questions. Would you like to ask me any questions?
Yes. So
Yes.
you have been practicing more than I have, obviously. I haven't even started. So I wanted to ask what you think separates people in their careers who thrive. And so let me reword this question. So what do
Yes.
you separates those who thrive in this profession from those who simply go through the motions, as we say?
Least, but I would like to start like we usually feels like going with the flow, but that's not the thing that has to be done. Like we are the PharmD professionals, and we have to learn various skills. Like one of the most important skill is a communication skills, because we have to deal with the patients if we are working into the healthcare system. The another thing is like if we are working into the pharmaceutical industries, and that's the thing there is going to work there also, the communications again. So we have to work on primary basic skills, along with our academic learning, because it is going to help a lot in our personal and as well as professional life. And People always look up for the marks, the academic excellence, and all these things. But along with this, I'm not telling that academic marks does not, it's not important. It is important, but we have to also look up along with that, with knowledge apart from what we are learning in, like the clinical skills, the non-clinical skills learning. Like we can also work into the clinical research sectors. We can also work into the clinical pharmacy. There are various types of uh, roles of a clinical pharmacy, like a critical care clinical pharmacy, or ambulatory care, or antimicrobial stewardship. It's very famous in India. Like antimicrobial stewardship is, they are working a lot of the things to prevent antibiotic resistance. So it's very important to also connect with the professionals, to reach out to the professionals through emails or through any social media account, and to ask them that we are interested to learn from you, and we have to catch up, we have to be in touch with them. So it's very important that we are, like the our surrounding is very much important, our environment is very much important. If we are, surrounded by the growth mindset people, who always learns and who always teach to their, students or to others, so it is going to help us, and we can pay it forward to another one. But
Yeah.
if suppose that we are just, looking up for the only academic excellence, that's not going to help in this, um, in this century, I could say. So yes, it will help up to certain level. But if you we want to, pursue something, if you want to pursue something which has never been done before, so we have to do something different which has to be done.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people put like their worthiness on their academic performance. Do you know what I mean? I feel like being able to have in academics is absolutely necessary. Like keeping your grades up, it proves that you know the knowledge that you're about to go into the field with. But I feel like people are losing the skill to talk,
Yes.
like it's or the skill to connect with people. And you can see this a lot in pharmacy school because it's a competition. It is in the beginning, I would say people find academic competition thriving, I guess. And I can't say that I wasn't in the beginning, but once I got that first B, I was like, yeah, I'll be average. It'll be fine. So I understand that entirely. And I feel like I think after I got to that point, because I came in with a 4.0 in undergrad, and I was like, I was working full time, I was going to school full time, like I can handle this. And I got my first B, and I was like, I am not that person. So I like shifted my focus to being involved rather than how much time I was studying. I was studying a lot and I still wasn't making what I wanted. So
Yes, yes, I can understand that.
yeah. Yeah. I
So
really loved my favorite part of pharmacy school was talking to, I think I mentioned this before, but my
yeah.
class was made up of 7 different countries. And I found that so fascinating. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And talking to people is how you get to know them. So I think I really developed and before I came to pharmacy school, I was big into like creating rapport with people. And once I got to pharmacy school and I got to talk to people like on an everyday basis, I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah. So let's get with some another questions.
Okay.
Like I want you to, first answer about your personal struggles while you were pursuing the degree, and which I think you already had addressed it in during, the starting of this video. Like you were also working and you were also managing the classes, the assignments and everything. And you used to wake up at 4 a.m. and your classes would be at 10 a.m. and you were working hard for it. And you were from also from humble family background. That's what you said. So yes, anything you would like to tell us?
Yeah. So through undergrad, I had left home. I think I was like 18 or 19. I ended up moving. And so I had to learn how to, because I come from a big family, a very close family on my mom's side. And I had to learn how to balance all of the school that I was doing, all of the working I was doing, and also find time for my family. So that was a big struggle for me, and I think I got it down as I went on. And now I've kind of like fallen back a little bit, if I have to be honest, just because it's been so busy my last year. But what people also don't may not know is like relationship wise, I had been in a long-term relationship through my undergrad, and I was going through, I was actually engaged, and I was going through a time where we had broken off that engagement. So I had to learn how to, I've always been the type to leave it at the door, as they say. So whenever I went to work, like I had to turn on this work mind. And then I was also still working on my degree. So whenever I got off, like I was also having to keep my mind focused on what my goals were. And that was to essentially in that moment, it was to survive, if I'm being honest. So I had to like turn on survival mode. And I mean, it was like very devastating at the time whenever I was going through it. So I would go through my like coursework and I would write little notes to myself like, you can do this, or just like a goal, like a short-term goal for tomorrow. I would write it down and then I would also put it in my car so I could see it every single day. I would try to write a new goal every day just to make it through the day because it was at that time like I was juggling so much. I didn't even talk about it to anybody. I just kind of went on about like on my own. And then I guess once I got the call about pharmacy school, I was kind of like, oh, well, I mean, I have this new world around me now, and so this could potentially be an even bigger world around me that I could engage in. So that was whenever I had started came into pharmacy school, and then throughout pharmacy school, I had lived over 4 hours from my family. So I was going back home every other weekend, so we would have a off weekend is what we would call it. And so on my off weekends, I would drive all the way to my family just to see them, even if it was for, I remember my first year, my mom's birthday followed on like a Wednesday, I think. And I got out of class at like 4 or 4:30, and I drove all the way home, 4 hours and just to spend an hour with my mom on her birthday, and then drove all the way back that night and then was in class at 8 a.m. the next morning. Like it was, I tried to prioritize my family during my first 2 years. And then once I got to my third year, my schedule was so sporadic that I didn't know when I was going to be at my rotation site or when I was going to have a project day or something. So, um, it's been a struggle the past year, I would say, because I've my schedule changed so much. I was so used to having a set schedule that now I'm having to figure out how to prioritize my family into that. But I would say mainly and throughout school, I found working out a big stress reliever through all of this. So having to not think for 2 hours was like a relief. I feel like my brain is going constantly like, what did I learn today? What do I need to do whenever I get home? Do I have I eaten today? Like there was a lot of times where I was like, I don't even think I've had lunch. And so I would be so exhausted. But I found working out and like getting into that type of community actually grounded me into my coursework. And once I really delve into that, I felt a lot more relief and peace going into the next day. So I would say like the past couple years for me, probably the past 6 or 7, have kind of been on survival mode for the most part.
So I like one thing about you, like you always used to keep remind yourself that you have to keep forward, you have to move forward, whatever the situation is, well, whatever it takes. So you always take the notes on your cars, on everywhere, like okay, I'll have to do this, and you have to, you always uh, practice the task list, to do
Hmm.
list every day. That makes you more better every day.
Yes, I would agree.
Yes, so that's nice.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's hard to like kind of separate. Like we're still people. We still have like we still need to focus on what we're doing too to have a peace of mind. But having those notes really helped because the world's still gonna go whether we are having a bad time or not. So I think
Yes.
it's a good reminder of like you're still a person and you still need to move forward too, just as if the world is. So I think it's
Mm.
big. And I'm big on like bringing mental health awareness or like suicide prevention awareness is really big for me. So I think people taking time to themselves and having that moment, I guess you could say, like for me it was a survival technique writing those notes because I was going through a lot at one time I felt like, and so having that note in my car saying it's okay to like take a breath, it's okay to stop on the side of the road and think for a second, like it's a good reminder that we're still people, you know.
That's really nice. Okay, so I would like to ask you about, one book which, transformed you, one of your favorite book that you would recommend. And this is not a sponsored, but I want you to, help.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, I haven't really read for pleasure the past couple years. I've been reading like textbooks, but I just finished a leadership academy with one of the leadership organizations I was with, and we were on it's a textbook actually. It's like the GIANT textbook on leadership styles, but it really opened up my eyes to communication styles and learning how I communicate could be perceived by someone who communicates differently. And going through that program has honestly helped me move forward with my MBA and PharmD degree, because I wanted to integrate that into my professional career. And so it's really helped me learn how to identify the different communication styles and then how I can actually create a relationship with other people based off of how they communicate.
That's nice. And anything that you would like to,
Yes. So
one skills that every pharmacist should learn outside of a clinical knowledge.
communication. As you mentioned, I think that that's a really big thing. Being able to talk to people, I think, is kind of where we fall behind a little bit. I think people aren't taking the time to get to know others and get to know who it is that they're working with. And I'm not talking like you have to know them on an intimate basis. I'm talking about like just knowing them and in a work setting, like knowing where they're from. I feel like that's a big way. Like knowing that I'm from a small town and I you go to the dollar store and you know everybody. Like for me, that's a big thing for me where I work. Like I want to know your name. I want to know how you work. I want to know what's your favorite candy, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to ask you some more question, like how has combining a PharmD with an MBA shaped your career into the pharmacy path? And why
Yes.
do you think that, pursuing MBA could be the best? I want you to answer doing MBA along with PharmD and, how it can, bring change in a family.
Yeah. So before I had came into pharmacy school, I had a couple leadership positions at the previous jobs that I was at. I've never worked in a pharmacy before until I got to school, but I was in leadership positions in other healthcare settings. So that kind of really shaped my perspective on where you can make a difference. And going back to my list that I made before I came to pharmacy school, that was my number one. Like, what is it that I want out of my career? And it's to make a difference for people that don't necessarily know the path on how to do it, or to help lead them to the difference that they want to make in their own life. And combining the MBA and PharmD program really helped with that. There's a portion in the MBA curriculum where you learn about management versus leadership, and how to be a leader versus a manager, and what the difference is. And I feel like that's kind of been lost in some leadership styles, in some like ways to understand how to lead a team. That really helped through the MBA program. And you can choose to have a concentration in healthcare management, or you can choose to have a leadership management. And my concentration was in healthcare management, but it really showed us how to what the difference is in management versus leadership is. And I really want to just help people get where they want to go. Like, I'm not here to, and I've been in some jobs and some positions where they really micromanage you, and people are miserable. And I think that that's kind of where the difference in managing versus leading is at. And so combining the MBA and pharmacy degree, like that was my path. I really wanted to combine that leadership style and understand what leadership is in a pharmacy setting. And that's why I wanted the residency that I got, because I think it really combines those two, in my opinion.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So, like, what skills from your MBA education have you been most valuable in your professional roles? Like, other than, leadership and leadership and the another role like management and leadership. What are the other things that you would like to tell us?
Yeah, so I feel like inherently we all want to like, we had this discussion in MBA. One of our discussion posts was, is healthcare a right or is it a privilege? And to hear the different opinions on this in this discussion post was actually enlightening. And I think like we all want to help people. We all want to give people all that we can give and be there. But in reality, the back end, it doesn't work like that. It can't work like that with especially with our insurance corporations here. So to understand how money flows in a business for the MBA throughout the MBA program. We learned about that. We actually did Excel sheet projects on it. And so that was enlightening to, I think it was actually during the same course curriculum where we had that discussion, and then we also did the money Excel sheet. So that really enlightened us on, well, this is actually what happens behind the scenes. This is how a business is going to run to ensure that they can even still provide care to people. That's another big defining moment through the program where I was like, okay, now I kind of understand more. I won't tell my stance on whether I think healthcare is a right or a privilege. That's a different discussion. But that was a really good course, I think, for all of us to see going into this career path.
So how do you manage your study schedule. Like you have to also study for PharmD, you also have to study for the MBA. So how do you manage learning this both degree together?
Yes. So it actually worked out perfect. The my class was the guinea pig class. So we were the first class to go to composite testing. Not That's kind of where every course that we were in that quarter, because we only had 10 weeks to get this coursework done, and then we went on to the next quarter. So usually you're on a semester base here in the universities, and we were not. We were on a quarter base. So we had 10 weeks on, usually a week off to 2 weeks off, and then you were 10 weeks on again. Different coursework each quarter. So my class, our composite exams were composed of every course that we were in, and we got tested on it every other Monday. So our MBA program was a self-paced portion of it. So we would have discussion posts due on a Friday night or something. So I would always write out my schedules each day and each week and kind of make a flow for myself. And then all of our assignments, like our Excel project I was talking about, or our papers, were due the Tuesday after that Friday. And so I would make sure all my discussion posts were done, and then I would completely shut off my brain to MBA. And then that weekend I would study for my pharmacy exam. And as soon as my pharmacy exam ended, I immediately started on my MBA. And I knew I had that night to get it done as well as the next day. So I would go through all the material Monday afternoon and then have all my stuff sent in by Tuesday night. So it kind of worked out perfect. It really balanced each other because a lot of the times our MBA program was a 5 week course, and then we'd go on to another 5 week course. So it wasn't throughout the entire 10 weeks with pharmacy. Some of them were split up, but some of them were with the 10 weeks. So you just had to really pay attention to your due dates to make sure you weren't late, because they will penalize you for that late assignment. So the written schedules for me played a big part on balancing it.
Okay.
So
So yeah.
I
Yes, yes,
wanted to
please.
ask you,
Yes.
with your coming into this profession and then where you're at now, how has the definition of success changed for you? Because I feel like a lot of us see pharmacy as that's who we are, but it's not who we are, it's what we do. So I feel like the definition of success is different for everybody. So how has it changed for you, the definition wise?
I divided my success into many parts. Like first is health, because we always our healthcare work is always like we always have to end up with a burnout at the end of the day. So and we don't have a time for our families. It's more like a work-life balance. We always don't have a work-life balance in our life. Another thing is we need time for ourselves. Like every day we have to learn something new skills so that we can be a survival of the fittest by Charles Darwin. So
Yeah.
every day we have to learn something new, and so health, wealth, skills or knowledge, and hobbies. Like we have to keep some time for our personal things as well. Like we can work on some hobbies, as I have already discussed. So this is what I have changed my success definition. At the end, we have to take decision of our life. We are responsible for everything. So we have to take charge of our life. So I'm going towards a very different thing. But
Yeah.
yes, that's what makes it more defining towards my success. But
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. It's not like I'm successful or something like that, but yes, I'm working.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, especially what you said about the health,
Yes.
I think that brings wealth. I think if you can maintain a healthy life, I think you'll be a lot happier in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think, what qualities would you say make an effective leader in today's workplace?
Okay, so you know, worldwide, many people are facing mental health issues. So what when we look up for the what is the main purpose or what is the reason behind the mental health uh, problems in our day-to-day life. So
Mhm.
it comes suddenly that we are spending a lot of our time towards our workplace. So it is very much important that the workplace should be the environment should be healthy instead of toxic environment. So it's not like that everywhere the toxicity is there. It the charity begins at home, so we have to be very much positive. We don't have to complain of everything what we are seeing through our surroundings. So the changes can be done from ourselves, and it may change the surroundings as well ultimately. So the first thing is that you have to take your mental health seriously, and it's very much important that you should discuss with your loved ones or the closed ones, so that you can get them some solutions. And the another thing is that you have to you have to prioritize your work, your everything, and you have to take decisions based on that. It's very
Mhm.
much important to prioritize everything in your life. And
Yeah.
you yeah. The mental health videos are also available on my YouTube channel. That was
Yeah.
done with my one of the friend.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yes.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so I guess my last question, I don't want to keep bombarding you, but my last question would be if you could talk to yourself 10 years ago, what advice would you give if you were talking to yourself?
Okay, that's a nice question because the same question I asked you. So, okay, that's what I wanted to tell to myself, that you have to be very clear in your life. Sometimes destiny is already decided, but just you have to work on it, and you are going to be there.
I love that. That's really good.
Yeah. So, the same question I would like to ask you. This will be the
Okay.
last question.
Okay.
And so, what I would like to ask you one question, that you might have also went through a lot of setbacks, self-doubts, and failures. So, how do you address all these things, and how do you overcome your self-doubt and your failure in your
I would say the biggest piece of advice that I can give myself or that I would answer that question with is I am still here. I have made it through everything that I've been through up until this day and time, which proves that I can survive. You can make it through. Every day is a blessing. And I think that those setbacks were a part of me getting here today and being the person I am today. And I think that's important to tell yourself whenever you are going through that self-doubt. Because there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I don't know that I can survive this, or I don't know how I'm gonna survive this setback, whether it be emotional, physical, mental. Like, there's been a lot of times where I've asked myself, like, what am I doing? Why? I don't think I can make it through here. And I can. I'm sitting right here talking to you, and I made it through every single bit of it. And
yes,
exactly. And I think hitting it head on, it's uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable going through all the emotional roller coasters that you're gonna if you haven't already, you're going to at some point probably in your life. And I think hitting it head on and being honest with yourself, taking accountability for where you've gone wrong versus what you could have done differently, like t just looking back on yourself and realizing what you could change moving forward is how you combat that self-doubt. Because, like I said, you made it through it once. Not that you want to go through it again, but you can absolutely survive and make it through and be stronger and better and thrive. Um, and I think that that's kind of, it takes me to the Netflix because you had asked about the exam. And I would say that that exam will make you feel like you have never looked, you did not sit through all of that college at all. Like I felt like I think it's links to what's it called? Imposter syndrome. And I will say my last year of school through P3 year, that's our rotation year. So our in my program, we're only a 3 years. So our first 2 years are didactic, and then the last year is our rotation schedule. So we have 9 months of just rotation after rotation. And so I can honestly say I have never doubted myself more until I got to my P3 year. And I would come home crying. I'm like, there's no way I can do this. I'm not a pharmacist. And so it really took those moments. After I graduated, I was like, I got that hat, I got that gown, like I have that degree. I made it through. But during that time, it took a lot in me to say, like, I did do this. I did it. I'm standing right here on this stage with my doctorate and my MBA together. And so the exam, whenever it came exam time, I walked out of there feeling like I knew nothing. And they tell us in school, like your first instinct, stick to the first instinct, stick to that first answer choice that you pick because it's probably the correct one. And don't change your answers. So that exam was very hard. We use through our P3, we use UWorld, which is a platform for it follows along with the Naplex book that we have, follows it along great. And the exams that we had through pharmacy school were really good, but I felt like we we lacked the training in looking at a patient case on the exam and kind of, I guess, ruling things out. Like every answer choice on that question is right. Every answer, like for instance, why would warfarin INR be elevated? And you have like Bactrim, and then you have these other ones that can elevate the INR. But looking at the patient case, if you pay close attention, like the dates of the start of that medication actually doesn't correlate with an INR at all. So we were not trained to look at things like that. We were trained to recognize, oh, warfarin and Bactrim, that's a no, you know? And the NAPLEX exam really focused on can you read a patient chart, essentially. Um, and I felt like I had to learn that in the moment of that exam. And I think that's why I came out feeling um, upset because I feel like I should know that. I should have known that going in, but I didn't feel like I had enough training on it.
Really nice. I like
Yeah.
that. So it's like, you also have to be having some clinical experience along with the theoretical knowledge. Then
Mhm.
that's how it can be helpful to the to the to the candidates appearing for the NAPLEX examination. That's what you are talking about. So you should also be having good knowledge on the clinical practical aspects.
Yeah, and not that I didn't learn that through my rotations, because I absolutely did. My preceptors were very good about that. But when you're trying to separate practical, you're sitting at this rotation site, you know to look at the computer and to kind of correlate things. But doing that versus reading it on an exam, for me at least, it is totally different. I was prepared for, like I said, through my pharmacy school, you recognize Bactrim warfarin. No, you recognize the inducers, you recognize the inhibitors, but there's only one right answer choice almost. So I was prepared for the Naplex to be like that, and I was totally wrong. Um, it was a practical base exam, and I felt like I needed more of that on our exams through school.
Wow, that's really great answer. So it will be definitely helping all the viewers. If they are appearing for the Netflix, they have to remember the things which has been done, which has been suggested by Dr. Cassandra. So that's all for today. So I'm also planning to make more videos with her in future. And
Yeah.
if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section and to subscribe.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Thank you. It was a really nice discussion and conversation with you.
Thank you.
I'm stopping.